What up, everyone? Welcome to Collie Greens and Nerdy Things, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy. My name is King, and this is JC3. And today we're going to talk about Agatha All Along, Disney Plus series that is now on its sixth episode. And today we have some really crazy things going on. So, Jay, tell me what you think, man.
Bruh, I love this episode. Mainly for the fact that we got a full story, full backstory on our boy. We can actually say it now, Billy Maximoff.
Right?
I love that we got that confirmation, even though we knew. But it's good to get that, but also just to see, just to see things from his perspective, from just from it looked like the finale of WandaVision, like from there up until where we are right now.
Yo, that was one of my favorite parts. I didn't expect them to take us so far back in the timeline, or really give
Hmm.
us a real look at who Billy was. But man, they took it all the way back to when Billy wasn't even Billy Maximoff. You know what I mean? The original Billy. And it's his bar mitzvah. And at first I was kind of like, why are they showing us that he has a bar mitzvah? Not knowing what they were going to show us was two separate lives lived by one Billy. You know what I mean? And he had that birthday party, and then he goes into the tent and he meets one of the witches we're already familiar with.
Yes, yes.
The witch who can tell the future, but not in the way that, it's automatic. It comes to her in little spurts. So it's kind of crazy. She said, "You have a long life ahead." And then she kind of got stuttered and still and said, "Oh, your timeline switched in twos." And at the moment, I had my subtitles off, so I had to pause it, rewind it, turn my subtitles on because she said it so fast that I didn't understand what she said. And then I was like,
Hmm.
oh shit, his timeline, his life, his existence is split into two.
Yep, yep. That like like just to get that, just to see that he's been connected with these witches like from the beginning.
Right.
Just in different ways. That was very interesting to see that he had already had that connection, and then I think like by the time but by the time he actually got some of his memory back, or at least a little bit of it, he didn't remember his old life.
Right.
So it kind of explains he doesn't remember that encounter.
Right, because that's what I was thinking when we started to see more and more of the witches that are in the covenant, right? We started to then see the one that previously died the other episode. I forgot what her name is off the top of my head. She was the fire witch that her mom passed away. She comes
Right.
up and she's the cop. And she had said previously, I was a cop. So by the time
Yeah.
we see her earlier in the season, or in the season, she had left the force and was working at the mall. But now, since we're going back in time, we see her actually being a cop. So he already had a run in with two of the
Yeah.
witches that he'll later be in a pseudo covenant with.
I actually really love that. I mean, it kind of explains it too. It's funny how we went back in time, but then we also jumped forward 3 years. So it kind of explains that gap of why she went from cop to where, again, like you said, she is now. Uh, and also did when he was in the car with his parents, did did you catch what was playing on the radio
Oh
before it started
yeah,
cutting out?
I was about to mention it. I was about to mention it because at this point that I'm watching, I have the subtitles on. So it says
Hmm.
Vision, and then it says my wife and her UFO theories or whatever, and then it says Wanda, my husband with his indestructible
Like head.
head. Yeah, and
Yeah,
his
yeah.
indestructible head. And the dad was like banging on the dashboard to try to like get it to change stations, but it didn't.
Hmm.
And then as they're kind of arguing about the uh the dome at Westview, whether it was expanding or attracting in, they were arguing about that, and then Billy yells to his mom like, "Mom!" And they almost ran into another vehicle, swerved off the road, crashed pretty hard, dude. Like pretty hard. But when I saw
Yep.
that crash, I was like, Billy's not gonna be okay.
Not only was he not okay, no, our man died. That was nuts, dude. And I love how that scene was. Like after the accident, you see the parents. They're trying to they're trying to wave the police down, wave the cop down, and you see him passed out, but then you hear his heart slowly stop beating
To a dead stop. And then
to
you
a dead stop.
hear, which is, I didn't even notice I did that, to a dead stop. And then you hear the kid versions of Billy and Tommy. And in that
Mm-hmm.
episode of WandaVision, that was when Wanda realized she needed to let everything go. And they said goodnight to each other and they walked off into the ether. And then
Yep.
that's when Billy Maximoff's soul goes into other Billy to make him present day Billy Maximoff.
And I'm glad they did that because that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It gives some like depth to his parents being like worried, because at first I was like, is he really dead, or like did he really die? Oh, and oh boy's
Mm-hmm.
gone. He went to the upper room. He was out. He was done. And then I
Mm-hmm.
love that he goes to the hospital. You know what I mean? And the excuse that they use in World, which is fantastic, that he doesn't, because he's a whole nother person. He's not the boy who died. He's a different Billy, but they used amnesia as the excuse
Mm-hmm.
that he can't remember the life before the accident, which we know is because it wasn't his life. And
Yep.
now he can only remember from that moment forward. But I love that they gave in to him having a little bit of panic attacks because of the fact that he's just realizing he can read other people's minds. And
Yeah. Yeah.
here's his parents bickering in their heads to each other while just giving each other a look.
Mm-hmm. And it's very realistic. You know what I mean? As realistic as it can be in a show where it's like you just discover that you can hear other people's thoughts. It's like you would be freaking out. It's like what, like why is this happening? Like oh, stop worrying. And they're just
Right. That exchange when he gets
like
to the house, like, you know what I mean? It was just so overwhelming. And he gets up to his
mm-hmm,
room. He doesn't know this life. He doesn't know this kid. He doesn't know these parents. He has no like earthly idea of what's really going on. And then we have kind of a small time jump, right? Where we kind of jump forward. He starts to kind of get the idea about, Agatha and what's going on. Oh, no, no, no. Before we jump forward, no, we did jump forward because then he has a boyfriend. And we jumped a little bit
yeah,
forward to where he
yeah,
has a boyfriend, which is
mm-hmm,
similar to how Billy Maximoff was in the comics. I believe he was non binary or he might have been bi,
mm-hmm,
but I don't want to make any label assumptions. I believe that's the way it was. But they had a very cute, loving relationship. They were very sweet with each other, even through their text messages. But he
mm-hmm,
said, we got to go meet up with somebody because I need to get more information, right? About what's going
right.
on with me. And then who does he meet? Ralph Boner, the
Man,
single most interesting character that WandaVision chose to go with. And I love that now he's all older and paranoid and all this like extra hair. But he really kind of tells you that his body was taken over and he had no control. He had no control over what he can do. He had no control over how the movement went. You just had to sit back and watch it like it was a television show, even though it was his body, and how paranoid
Hmm.
he was, not only about Wanda, but then how paranoid he was about Agatha.
Yeah, like it was very, it was refreshing in a way to like get a reminder of how it was like from the WandaVision show. Because honestly, it's been so long since I've seen the show. Like I know what happened, but there are just those small details like, oh, like we couldn't control ourselves. Like we were in a show, we were aware, but we couldn't control our movements, what we said. Like it reminded me like that they were like everybody in Westview was essentially like in a prison in their own mind,
Right.
you know, and it was cool to get that refresher. However, I gotta admit when I saw that it was Ralph Boner, as soon as I saw the tag or the like
The gamer tag.
username,
Yeah.
the game tag, yeah, he was using, like as soon as I heard it, I'm like they're gonna bring back this guy.
Oh, I
And like
died.
I saw him and I'm just like, you know, it's good to see you and I'm glad we're getting this context. I was also reminded of like when I was watching the WandaVision show, and at the time we're looking at it and we're all thinking to ourselves, "Oh, that's Quicksilver." Like, oh man, they're doing the thing like from the X-Men thing, and then they drop that needle on us, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, they did do that."
Right.
Like
Because
they did Mr. Ralph Boner.
yeah, and because they had to, because Wanda's Quicksilver, her Pietro was not him. It was Aaron Taylor Johnson. So
Yeah, right.
to kind of mash in and say that he is her Quicksilver, you know what I mean? All of us who were big fans of the Age of Ultron would have been like, "Nah, playa." So they had to go somewhere with it, but I
Yeah,
found it kind of interesting. But at least that dude gives him more information, and then he finally tells him Agatha Harkness's name. So then he kind of
right.
goes on his own tangent. And did you kind of pause and look up all the information that he was looking at?
I didn't pause it. No, I just looked at the episode the whole way through.
I paused it a couple times to look at the information, and it was talking about, one is he's researching. He has the girl's mom's version of the Road song playing on record on his album,
Right.
and he's looking at all of this information about Agatha, and it's telling you throughout the years. She comes
Hmm.
from the 1920s and the early 1920s. Like she did this and she did that. She was one of the only survivors of the Salem witch trials. Then he looked up and it was like kills her whole coven, was called Coven Killer. Her powers are related or in some reference to succubus is what it said, that she was a succubus. That's her, how they described her powers. And then
That's
it
what I was
said,
thinking.
right, and then it said only survivor of the road. And so when it went through one of the news articles, it was one of those old Zeppelin blimps and it got
Mm.
destroyed. But if when they zoomed into the picture, it looked like Agatha was there. So then when he was reading some of the words of the road, they matched to the song. And then he realized he needs to find Agatha because she's still alive in Westview under the spell, and he needs to learn about the road. So I like kind of how they gave him that bit of a backstory and filled in that gap, because then it went to when we first saw him, the police chase, which is sadder in real life than it was because both of them were really struggling to run. They
That was
weren't doing
hilarious.
well.
I like seeing that whole thing.
Oh, I
Oh,
was
cramp!
weak. Oh, cramp! Like they wasn't doing. She was like, "Slow down, stop." You know what I mean? Like
I'll
she
stop if you stop.
right in her head, she's a detective. In real life, nah, Agatha, you don't have the athletic skills that young man does. So it was pretty funny to kind of watch that, and then
Hmm.
also when we watched it originally, we're still in under the hex spell that she's under. So
Right in that police room. Yeah.
right. So we're in that police room, and he's literally explaining to her everything, but in that moment we can only see her point of view, so it was like all, dark and sinister, and he's literally telling
Hmm.
her who he is and what he's trying to do. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And she doesn't really snap out of it until he starts to chant
Hmm.
the recite the words, to get her out of the spell. Even when he tells her that she's in the spell and he's gonna release her, she was just like, huh? Like, she's so
Hmm.
under Wanda's control that she couldn't even hear the real words that was coming out of her mouth. And I bet to her it might have been, the hex thing that he had, over his mouth, because she did not seem to catch any of the information, and he pretty much gave her everything in that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, he did, and like it was interesting. It was funny to see because I compared it because like you said, we're still in the interrogation room, and when we're seeing it from her perspective, and I think that when we're seeing it from her perspective, the interrogation is played out more like an interrogation, and she's still goofy, but she's still like very cop like
Right.
I believe in the way that she's a cop. When we are seeing it from Billy's perspective and we're just in her house, she really did sound like she was just crazy.
Right.
You know? And you could tell that some of their delivery, it was different, but it was different in a way where not from him but from her. It's like it's a little more goofy and naive. So like that was very interesting and funny to see. I also I love the part where she's all up in his face and she's like, "You don't want to poke the bear. You don't poke the bear." He's like, "I don't. I don't want to poke that bear. No, you don't poke the bear. No, no, no bear." And bro, I swear to you, like I was just looking at his face because that's the one part that I did rewind because it's like, dude, I feel like he was trying so hard not to laugh.
Oh, dude, like,
Like, like yeah.
as an actor, he was struggling, man. Like, I think it was hilarious, the whole "don't poke the bear" and him like, obviously I don't want to do that and blah blah blah. But on her
Yeah.
end, when we saw it on the other side, it was not like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought
That's
that
what I
was
love about it.
fantastic. I thought that was a great choice, you know what I mean, of what they did. And
Hmm.
then, it gives us another little jump forward to when they're, you know, I think it goes after that directly to present time when they're on the road and Agatha's clawing her way out of the muck.
Yeah, yeah, like because at first, like the before we get to that part, like the last thing that we see of him in her house is when she throws him in the closet, like ties him up, throws him in the closet, and then we get the skip until we get to the present time that we're at right now. Uh, the one line that he did put, I can't help but I did roll my eyes a little bit when he said this, like, but right when she like tossed him in, he was like, "No, please, I don't want to go back in the closet."
Oh my god. You know what? I didn't even catch it. I didn't even catch that he said
Yeah,
that.
yeah, he's like, "I don't want to go back in the closet." I was like, "Oh God, okay."
I thought it was interesting, and now they have a whole new dynamic, right? Like,
Mhm.
she's now a lot more like sly, and she's trying to be a little more, I don't know, it seems more a little more seductive with her moves and being a little more sly than she was when he was just the teen and a kid. So it seems like some of the guard of who she is went down. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
she's now really, really Agatha. You know what I mean? Now that he knows who she is, she knows who he is. You know what I mean? It seems like she was kind of talking to him in such a way that, like, I don't know, she was more relaxed and at ease. The only thing that I think I couldn't really get my head around at the moment was, if she clawed her way out, why didn't the other girls? You know what I mean? Like, why was she able to return? Because we saw him and he couldn't use his powers again because he doesn't know how to control them completely at this moment.
Right.
So I
Mhm.
kind of wondered how she survived, but then they kind of used that moment and told us on screen, which I partially right now I don't have 100% believe, but she kind of alluded to Everybody else is dead now, so it's just me and you going down the road.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think they're dead. I don't think they're dead either.
Yeah, because I could have swore that even in promo material we had saw the other witches in the next episode where everyone is dressed up like a Halloween, or the perception of what witches are. Billy's Maleficent. I think Agatha, or one of the other girls, is the Wicked Witch of the West. So I think they
Hmm.
might come back. I'm not 100% sure that they're dead.
I hope
Or
they come back. What's up?
where's Rio?
Bro, you read my mind. You read my mind. I was like, we still don't know where she is. Like that's still the one missing piece. I guarantee you, like they're gonna save either they're gonna save her true identity for the second to last episode, or they're gonna do it in the finale.
Right, right, where she fully unleashes herself as Lady Death. There's
Yes.
It was a great episode. There was a lot of really good setup, and really kind of explained a lot and expanded the world a little bit, right? Like, I think this show has done itself a great service that I don't think majority of us would have expected when we heard the title Agatha All Along.
No, no, not at all. Because I mean that's kind of the beauty of this show right now is we know our main character, but we didn't necessarily know the purpose of this show.
Right.
Uh, and now it feels like and now I'm kind of changing it up to where it's like because I remember I would tell you that I feel like the only reason we have this is to bring Wanda back, but I don't think that anymore. I think that this is the show where we get Billy and Tommy. You know,
Right.
we officially get them as the twins. That way we can move on with more Young Avengers stuff.
I agree. I think this is partially to the setup to Young Avengers and Vision Quest, because I think Vision Quest is going to be the show where they're going to introduce him putting together the Young Avengers. In the comics, one of his things, as a computer based thing, synthezoid,
Mm-hmm.
he had a protocol for if all the Avengers were gone, he would like start a new Avengers. So as far as he knows, when he came out of the Hex and then got reprogrammed, he was dead from Thanos. To his knowledge, all the Avengers might be gone. So it might be time for him to form a new set of Avengers to take on, the challenges, which would then be, the Young Avengers, and we have most of the characters. So I hope this really is a good setup. I think the biggest question I have right now is: will we actually see Speed at the end of the show? Will we see Tommy, or um, will we not see Tommy until maybe the show that they were talking about where Wanda's looking for Tommy? So I don't know, but I'm definitely here for the ride. Like, I'm 100% on the ride right now.
Absolutely, man. Like this episode gave me more like it made me more excited and hopeful that we will get Tommy by the end of this season. Because I mean, honestly, who knows if we'll get a second season? This may just be a one and done.
Right.
Um, but I do hope that we see an older version of Tommy, and I also it makes me more excited to know that eventually, some point down the line, we'll get the Maximoff family reunion. And and even though that still seems a bit far off, because I mean, essentially it is like these are that like we planted the seeds now, and it's starting to sprout, and now we're actually getting like we actually have a point to where we can get to that next spot to where like Wanda's back, we'll get Vision back, and then we'll get the reunion with their whole family, which I'm sure they'll probably save for like a big movie, possibly
Right.
the Avengers movie.
Right.
Like that's what I'm most excited for now is to see that big family reunion whenever we get it.
Yeah, yeah, man. So this is a great place to stop today. All of you guys who are going to be watching, I hope you go down in the comments and tell us what you think, what you like about the show. What did you enjoy about this episode? If we got something wrong, I know we got a bunch of spoilers going on. So, get down in there and tell us, what you think. And if you want to look myself or Jay up, I'm King. That's JC3. And those are our social medias. Hit us up, follow along, and check in, tap in with us every week. We're going to talk about more Wanda and other shows to come. So peace out, y'all.
Peace.